Linda Thomas, the news chick. Linda Thomas is a name that I've said for years on the radio. Very comfortable with that. It's still a little strange for me to hear the news chick. I'll just get that out of the way right off the top. That's a name that up until now has only existed on social media sites that I use, like Twitter, where I'm at the news chick. Same thing on Facebook. I have a page called The News Chick. And my blog at mynorthwest.com is The News Chick. But I never intended to use that name on the radio. Yet here I am. I'm going to explain in just a little bit where that name came from. Might make more sense to you then. It's a story that actually goes back about 25 years. But all of this has me thinking about creating a brand. And later this hour, we're going to talk about that for a product, but first for an individual, because I think everyone needs to have a brand. Not necessarily something that has a different name than you do, but a brand and identity that is so strong that instantly everybody knows what you stand for when they hear your name. Think about what coworkers would say your brand is. A guy who knows a whole lot more about brand identity than I do is Glenn Llopis. He joins us. And Glenn, you were telling me that you think having a personal brand will save someone's job or even make their career. Let's start with what exactly is a brand anyway?
It's the total experience of having a relationship with you. And the fallacy in its definition is what does it mean to you? It's all about you. And personal branding, to me, is outdated, in that it shouldn't be about you. You should be focusing on the advancement not only of yourself, but what that means to others. And that's why I'm shifting the thinking, especially as this applies to the workplace, away from just personal branding to employee branding, where the emphasis is on making employees an extension of the corporate brand, that each employee needs to be viewed as their own individual brand asset. It goes beyond reputation. It's about what are you contributing? How are you propelling and cultivating innovation? How are you adding value to your everyday when you walk in the door? And that means two things. One, that employers need to shift their thinking in allowing their individuals in the workplace to be more of who they naturally are in everything they do and how they do it, which means individuals need to start shifting their focus to being more of their authentic self. Because most people enter the workplace not wanting to be as responsible as they should be. And we're at a time now, Linda. I mean, think about the times we're living in now. We're in a recession. People are waiting for something to change in order to fix the problem. And that's not going to happen. What's going to happen is that people need to be more responsible, more accountable for how they can contribute as an individual for the betterment of a healthier whole in their workplace so that we can start stimulating innovations. America's corporations in particular can start crafting just a new mindset for how they not only recruit employees but retain them. Because let's face it, we live in a world of temporary employment, and the traditional promise of long-term security by employers has vanished. And that's a sad reality, especially today's Gen Y generation. They're looking to always find employers to work for as long as that employer allows them to be relevant. The moment that their relevancy vanishes because their employer isn't supporting it, they'll go on to the next opportunity.
So there are a couple of issues to get around from the employer's perspective on branding. One is that the employers get a little nervous when they think about having workers who have such a strong brand on their own, no matter what field they're in, that, they could probably just pick that up and take it to a competitor. Reality is they're going to do that anyway. And the other side of that is that if employees actually have something that they're putting their name on the line for, they will work harder for you than they would ever work if they're doing a nameless, faceless kind of job. There's another concern about a company having a brand identity and wanting that to be unified, maybe not wanting to have rogue employees going off creating their own things. But I think the biggest roadblock to branding isn't the employer. I think it's the employees who don't think they're in a position to create their own identity at work, especially in a lot of jobs that are kind of factory work or it's hard to stand out.
Just because your boss is your boss? Does it mean that your boss knows more than you, that they really add more value to the organization? I got news for you. In today's workplace, everybody's being evaluated. And if you've been there 15 years, 20 years, if you're not relevant to how your organization is reinventing itself in order to remain competitive in today's global marketplace, doesn't matter how long of tenure you've had, you're gone. In organizations, there's a better opportunity more than ever for people to elevate their promise within the workplace, but people just don't know how to get noticed. People just don't know how to become discovered. So first and foremost, know the real hierarchy in the organization by understanding who those people are that are really making things happen. And we know who those people are. Take a real close notice within your workplace and begin to identify what the real hierarchy is within your organization. Another one that I think is very important is investing in yourself and in the right people. Linda, again, people need to be investing in themselves today more than ever before. I mean, they need to start focusing on those natural characteristics that make them feel as if they can contribute at real purposeful and meaningful levels, and invest more in them. And equally, invest in the right people. I've said for many years that there are 4 types of people that we deal with in the workplace. And in life in general, there are leaders, lifters, loafers, and leeches. We can all relate to them. Ask yourself, the people that you associate with, where do they fall within those categories? In fact, think of your own self in the online world. What type of people are part of your Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter accounts? Think about that in your everyday. Are you associating with people that can lift you or lead you, or are you just dealing with loafers and leeches? Very important point. The other is the importance of just changing your mindset and enabling your thinking. I mean, to be a brand, you need to be a thinker. And I know that everybody has great ideas. The question is, are they sharing those ideas? I mean, how many times are people in a meeting and someone says, hey, that's a great idea, you should do something with it. And then what happens? Most people don't take action. Easy ways to get noticed is when you have an idea, share it, cultivate it, put some meat behind it by providing some examples of it, how it can apply in your current workplace or within a current initiative that you have within your organization. I can tell you, because I'm very active with organizations and speaking to key Fortune 500 leaders, everyone's looking for the new answer. Everybody's looking for new, fresh thinking. Don't limit yourself to sharing your ideas and ideals.
Talking with Glenn Llopis about having a personal brand. And Glenn, a lot of what you say makes complete sense to me about branding, why you need to have it, although I'm still stuck on the leaders, lifters, loafers, and leeches. I think if you look around the office place, everybody knows someone who falls into one of those categories. So the next question is, how do you create that identity for yourself in the workplace where everybody knows exactly what you stand for, what kind of worker you are, what you contribute?
On a piece of paper, write down, what is your enduring idea? What is it that you can bring? What defines the way you think? Number 2 is, what really differentiates you in the workplace? I mean, if I were to ask 10 of your colleagues to answer that question, they should all have the same answer. So ask yourself, what differentiates you in the workplace? And then third is, who do you serve? Who do you serve each and every day? And think about that for a moment. When you that kind of question makes you step back. And a lot of it has to do with, what is it that you stand for? And what is it that differentiates you? What is it about your enduring idea that serves a particular individual and or functional areas and or departments within your organization? And then you have to live these things every single day. And I know these things are difficult. They're not easy. And some people listening may think, boy, that's a very wishful thinking. But these are the types of adjustments that individuals need to make in the workplace, because remember this, if you don't manage your personal employee brand, somebody else will. I mean, there's a reason why there are so many victims of unemployment due to the economic boom in 2008 and 2009. It's because they allowed other people within their organization to manage their brand. It's time for people to shift their mentality and start managing it themselves.
Glenn Llopis has the ideas about branding. He just wrote an ebook, in fact, about branding. And the News Chick listeners can go to my blog at mynorthwest.com, and you'll find a link where you can download that for free. There's that name again, the News Chick. Yes, it still sounds weird for me to say that. I'll tell you where the News Chick came from and why branding can be a little tricky when you create a name for one reason, then life happens, careers change. Mine has in a big way. Then what do? We'll talk about that next. You're listening to The News Chick on 97.3 Cairo FM.